Thanks for joining us this week on another episode of Solicited. We've been talking about the five love languages the last two episodes, and the next episode we're going to be talking about is receiving gifts. And if you're new here or this is your first episode you're listening to, the last two episodes we talked about the five love languages, and this love language that we're going to talk about today is receiving gifts. Now, love languages is a basic understanding of what someone needs or wants to receive love. So, if you're unfamiliar with Gary Chapman, he created this book called The Five Love Languages. If you're curious about what love languages are, you can check out the book. I highly recommend it. Or you want to know what your love language is, you can go online, Google it, take the love language quiz. Now, today for receiving gifts, don't mistake this love language for materialism, because the receiver of gifts thrives on the thoughtfulness and love and the effort that you put in behind the gift. Now, if you speak this love language, the perfect gift or gesture shows that you are known and that you're cared for and that you are, thought about in these special moments in your life. Now, if you miss a birthday or you miss an anniversary or a special moment in your life and you didn't get the right gift, that could be a little disastrous for someone whose love language is gifts. Now, gifts are usually a visual representation of love, and they're usually pretty greatly treasured. Nichole, what are your thoughts on receiving gifts?
It resonated with me what you said about it's not necessarily about materialism. I think for me, I'll spoil alert here. I scored pretty high on gifts, and I also know for myself that I love giving gifts, and it super resonates with me. It is about the tangible, what you are actually giving or receiving, but the reason why that's important for me is because if you get it right, what you just expressed to me is that you get me on like a deep cellular level. And so I think like
Mm,
that's the piece that's really important. And it's similar when I'm giving a gift. I am agonizing over what is like the thing that speaks so true to who this person is, and I want to get it right, because if I get it right, then I've communicated that I also see them and know who they are on a deep level. So it's not about materialism, and the thing that you choose to materialize really represents how deeply and how well you know somebody, for me.
that's awesome. Now, before we dig deeper, I want it to be known that we all need a certain amount of all five of the love languages, but usually we have one or two like top love languages. Now, it doesn't mean that the other ones are not ways that you usually use to communicate love and are just nice to have. Like, don't get me wrong, I scored last in gifts at 7%, but do I still like gifts? Absolutely. I love gifts. I love receiving gifts and I love giving gifts, especially if I know that person really well. I hate like generic gifts though, and like just trying to figure out what to give somebody, um especially if you don't know them very well or you have to get them a gift and you have absolutely no idea. It's hard when you have been in people's houses before too, and I think about this with getting gifts for little kids for birthday parties. I'm like, I don't know what toys this kid already has or doesn't have, or that's why I think I'm such an experience type person. um and I don't know, gift giving when you don't know the person really well or you don't know their love language in general, I think is difficult.
That's really a good point. I think too, the thing that just I was thinking is, for me, the as a person who really has a high value on gifts, the thing I hate to hear is it's just the thought that counts. That is like a dagger to my heart when I hear that. So when I hear you say like, generic, you don't really like generic gifts. I'm very similarly, because to me it's like what that has communicated. But to me, I'm like, but did you put the effort? And so if you just like give me a Starbucks gift card, am I going to use that gift card? Yeah, probably. But if you just gave everybody a gift card, I'm like, I don't think you actually gave any real thought. It seems like a checkbox. And to me, that does the opposite of what you were probably intending.
Yeah, I totally get that. So, I mean, let's also think about this too. So like gift giving can be super romantic, think about your partner. They should know how to love you, but with gifts. But it's also a little bit unfair because once you've figured out the best way you feel loved and you express it to your partner, like, listen, Valentine's Day is coming up, right? We're dropping this episode on Valentine's Day. No more generic red roses and Valentine's Day candy, especially if that's not what you want. Like, if you want an Apple Watch and you celebrate these you know, Hallmark holidays, as my husband would call it, and I like these holidays. I think it's the teacher in me. Um, just because it's another moment to feel loved and to show people that you love them. Um, but it doesn't mean you have to get me roses. It does not mean that at all. It can be so many different other things. Now, Nichole, you said that gifts is high up on yours. Where did that fall in your love languages?
It was the second highest for me.
Oh wow. That's really high. And what about for your husband?
Third.
Oh my
Third highest, so 3
gosh.
out of 5. Yeah, but you know what? I was actually thinking I have a hunch as to why I think gifts actually scored so high for me. And then I don't know that I have my suspicions about if that's accurate for my husband, but I think for me it goes back to what I was saying. It's for me it's super interwoven. So my top one was acts of service. To me they're kind of like two sides of the same coin, because if you've really nailed a gift for me, you have probably put in multiple acts of service, right? Like you it takes energy and effort and lots of moving pieces, in my opinion, to get a really good gift for somebody. And so I think that they're really super intertwined for me. And I guess I also just think that I want to smash the idea that gifts have to be a surprise. They actually don't really have to be a surprise, and I don't expect like grand gestures. Like, and I think that that can get kind of conflated. Gifts for me are not grand gestures necessarily. And I think a good example of this is for Christmas, my husband got me um, a standing mirror jewelry box. So it's like a floor length mirror that you can open and store all of like your jewelry and stuff. And he got mad props for this, but that actually wasn't a super original idea. He saw that I was searching for them on Amazon like months ago. So like I love that. Like creativity to the max in terms of like you don't need to reinvent the wheel for it to have meaning or impact. Like he's like, "Oh, clearly she was thinking about it. This has like a real practical use. I'm going to get it for her." And so I think it doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't necessarily have to be a brand new idea for it to just really hit.
I totally agree with that. And I also think that when you know and understand the love language that your partner's speaking, you can show them that love, and it really matters, and they'll value it more, and it'll have like almost an emotional effect on your significant other. So for you, the fact that he took the time and noticed that you wanted something like that's the important part. um
And that's sort of the act of service that I'm getting out of like, oh, you to me that is like, oh, you got on whether or not you intended to or not. Oh, you were like on our Amazon account and like notice
Creeping.
that? Like, oh,
Yeah,
cool. Like to me that is more than just giving a gift.
for sure. And something that I've thought about too is that typically people's whose love language is gifts, it's not just the holidays and birthdays for these things. It's just the way that their love tank, quote unquote, is filled. And it can be little gestures, like you said. It doesn't have to be this whole grand thing every single time. And even just because basis, like my husband came home with flowers today, like just because. Gifts is the last thing on my list, and it's funny enough, it's the last thing on my husband's. Nichole, he scored 0% in gifts. Like he could give two F's about gifts. And I know I try really hard, and I do the same thing that you were saying. Like he was researching a couple years ago Traeger grills, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull the trigger. And for 1 year for Christmas, I got him a Traeger grill, and he was super excited about it. He liked it. Has he used the grill very much? No. God bless him. Love him. But like gifts is just not his it's not his thing at all. Um
I'm also a big fan of a practical gift. It doesn't need to be highly romantic or grand. If it's practical, like you're gonna And I think that's also another way in which it's interwoven with acts of service for me. If you give me something that helps me get through my day or my life a little bit easier, like I am eternally grateful. And so like the example of like the gift that my husband got me, the standing jewelry box mirror, I mean,
You probably use
practical
it every day.
every day. So I just, again, I think we need to kind of rethink about it. It doesn't need to be this like rom-com gift giving, change my
Yeah.
life.
And you said it right there. Practical, like for me, I'm a very practical person. I tell my husband all the time, I was like, you are hashtag blessed that I'm not into shoes. I'm not into purses. I'm not into like high end designer things like a lot of women tend to be. For me, a great gift, take me on a vacation, honey. Like, take me on a trip. Buy me the just because flowers once in a blue moon. Bring me home a little snacky snack, like when you're out and about that your girl wants, especially the French fries. It all goes back to French fries, y'all. Yeah, I
It
just
does.
like, I just, that's just not my top love language, but I do appreciate a really thoughtful gift. Now, Nichole, go ahead.
I think you just gave us like a whole new category about like in terms of practical and gifts and acts of service. Bring home dinner. And the days that my husband calls me and goes, "Hey, I'm driving by X. Should I pick up dinner?" That is a gift. You've just taken the guesswork and the decision making from me, and you've also delivered me sustenance. That is a gift. And so I think again, like getting out of the box of like it has to be wrapped in a bow for it to be a gift is not, I think, accurate.
No, 100%, especially as a mom now. I'm like, anything you can take off my plate, dishes, cooking, that's wrapped with a bow for me already. Now, does receiving gifts and like giving gifts, does that mean you're materialistic? Maybe. But it could also just mean that you value the time and the thought that someone put into actually getting you that thoughtful gift. Do you think that because it's high on yours, would you consider yourself a materialistic person?
I'm a person that likes nice things for sure. I don't think I am a highly materialistic person. And I also I don't expect anybody to buy me something that I wouldn't buy myself. So I'm not a person that has unrealistic, like, oh, go buy me $1,000 whatever. Only if I would buy that for myself. And even then I wouldn't expect somebody else to get that for me. So I don't know that I'm answering your question. I don't think I am, but I do like nice things. And I think I'm reasonable. And I think it all goes back to why is that important to you? If I'm like, get me the purse because I want the purse, I think that is teetering over into materialism. If you just brought me the purse because you saw me stop by the window one time and go, oh, that's really nice. That would be so nice to have something like that. And I never mentioned it again. And you wanted to treat me and you remembered that. And you were like, this will be a treat and this will knock her off her feet and this will just be so exciting and she will know that I've been thinking about that moment in front of that store window for 3 months. That is different to me, right? Like so I think it sort of depends on what the intention was and how it's sort of like received.
For
The
sure.
intention behind there. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. Now, here's the other thing that I just want to point out is that gifts does not have to always cost money. Your presence could be a gift, truly. Like the taking the time and effort to spend that time, and that's where it bleeds into a little bit of the quality time. The love languages are being blended somewhat in there. And also, I think the important thing to recognize in this category of love languages is that the time and effort that went into it. Yes, I know the whole it's the thought that counts and matters and that thing you're not a big fan of. But at the same time, if that person tried and they like you can tell they put thought and effort into it, I think that that's somewhat important as well.
Navigating the receiving of a gift that has not matched you is not for the faint of heart. We've all been there where you receive something and you're like, oh, they did try. How do I make this reaction not totally rupture this relationship. But yeah, you're right. If somebody really tries, and I've navigated that, even like in my own relationship of like, I think Nick and I have historically, not so much now, a long time ago, came towards gifts with very different ideas. Him maybe like more traditional of like, girls want X, and not really thinking about like, oh, what does Nichole want? And so yeah, that created like a lot of disconnect. And I think actually scared him off from gift giving for me for a long time, truly. And so I think he's actually come around in the last like year or two of like, okay, I think I've got it. I think I've got my finger on the pulse.
I'm laughing so hard right now. So, what can you give me an example of a terrible gift that Nick has given you? That's you. I, I can see it on your face that you.
I mean, I think I didn't ask his permission to share this, but I think he'll be okay with it. This is the one that stands out. This is where I think it all went sideways for years. I think it was Christmas, one of the early years we were together, and he, God bless his sweet soul, he went to K Jewelers and he got me some necklaces, and they just did not resonate in any way. And there was two of them, so it kind of already spoke that like maybe he wasn't sure which one I wanted, and he read it on my face immediately. I am
You can't
not
hide your face. You can't hide your face.
not then I couldn't, no. And I also am not always so tactful. Now I'm a little bit more tactful. So I was just like, do you mind if I return this? And I fucking did. And I think that that just like kind of broke his heart a little bit.
Poor
Yeah.
Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's funny. Um, Funny because we were actually just talking about gift giving this past weekend, and I was telling one of my friends that was visiting about, gifts where you just kind of like miss the mark a little bit, And Mike is a big gift card guy, and don't get me wrong, I love a gift card. I do, especially as a teacher. Get your teachers gift cards because they don't the amount of kids gifts that you get in the years, like mugs, candles, the amount of candles that I own, like, yes, thank you. I appreciate it. But gift cards, you can't go wrong, right? But I don't want a gift card for my husband. Like, it's different.
There's a time and a place. There's a time and a place. And I think, listen, we all have given gift cards and we all will continue to give gift cards. They're functional and they're quick and they're honestly very practical, right? Like I
For
said,
sure.
give me a Starbucks gift card. Oh, I'm going to use it. But did you tell me how much you know me? Well, actually, maybe with that one you
I
did.
was
But
like,
like,
coffee, yes. Nichole, you drink, you stop and get yourself a little treat all the time.
yeah, true enough. But I guess, yeah, we all do it. We're all going to do it. There is a time and a place. But you're right. Like, but do you want it from your husband for like Valentine's Day or for like your birthday?
Let,
Maybe not.
let me be a little more specific. Our first Christmas together, Mike Mike gets me a gift card, a 200 something dollar gift card to Lakeshore. It's a
What is
teacher
Lakeshore?
store. It's a teacher
Oh,
store
okay.
because he didn't want me spending my own money on my students, which was very sweet and thoughtful, and I understand the thought behind it. But for me, I'm like, I already spent money on my students. I want a gift for me. Like, this was like, I still have the gift card. I haven't used it. And I was like, we'll use it when we have kids. And because I already had bought stuff for my kids. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Anyway, so I just told him, I was like, listen, we need to talk about this and gift cards. And that same year, I think for Christmas, he gave me a little piece of paper saying he was going to take me to be our guest in Disney. And my husband hates Disney. And I still had my Disney pass at this time. And I tried to make it clear to him. I was like, you realize that Be Our Guest is a restaurant inside the Disney park. So you would have to pay to get into the Disney park to go to dinner one night. And he was like, well, I would have done it for you. And I was like, listen, I like Disney, but as I know he was trying and was trying to be thoughtful, but for me, I'm like, no, let's just do something else. Like, and I totally, like you said, poo pooed on his gifts, and he's gotten better. Like, he's gotten a lot better, actually. But it
I
takes some training of getting to know somebody and what they appreciate and what they like.
it's not a dig on anything, but you have to really know somebody, I think, to give like a really exceptional gift. But that's a good example of like he was trying so hard to do something that he thought that you would like.
God bless him. God bless him. And then, you know what, Nichole? You know what? Then, like, this past year for Christmas, I was like, listen, let's not do gifts. Like, let's not put the pressure. Like, let's just go on a trip because both of us, apparently, both of our love languages is quality time now. And more on that. If you listen to our last episodes on love languages, I learned a little bit in a therapy session about how you have parental love languages and you have relational love languages. So Mike's parental quality time is the highest right now because your love languages change a lot when you're in different seasons of life. And so we just entered this new season of parenthood. And so quality time, he enjoys spending time with me and our son. And, it doesn't mean that acts of service is not his top one in our marriage. So it was very interesting and eye-opening to me. So, shameless plug, go to therapy, people. It helps. You have some epiphanies, right?
Go to therapy. I
Yeah.
It becomes more challenging the older we get. Like, I don't know if you experience this with like your parents. Buying gifts for my dad is like almost an impossible task because I'm like, you're grown. And we're getting into that stage of life too, where it's like, you're grown. You want something, you buy it. You want something, you buy it. Right. And it's just like, then at what point do you know even what to get people? And so I think it's the constant.
And this is why for the last several years, I had told my family we're done buying gifts for each other. Like, this is bananas. We're all adults. We all buy what we want when we want. Unless it's something like you're really thoughtful, you're thinking about, you see something and you have to get it for somebody. So like it's different. And I'm thankful that we're kind of past that. Um, but I I've realized in my quote unquote old age that gifts for my parents is really they just need help doing things.
Hmm.
So, organizing the garage, helping do yard work. Um, I bought a photo package so that we could get family pictures together. I've done those types of things as gifts for my family or like activities. For Christmas this year, my brother just bought us all indoor skydiving for us to go do. So, I mean, like, my brother is very much a do not give me a gift if it takes up space. Like, I want either an experience or, food. And so he got us gift cards to a restaurant and then he bought us that. And I was like, I appreciate that because I think that that's the experience quality time type person that I am. And he bought thoughtful, fun gifts that are fitting to my family members who like to do adventurous things. So, good job, Nick.
That just reminded me of two things. The first being, there's been times where we've gotten gifts from family, whomever, and I go, what are we going to do with this? And I go to like trash it. And Nick goes, well, don't you want to save it just so we can put it out when they come visit? No, I don't want to do that because then where do you store it? So it goes back to your brother of like, please don't give me things that I just have to like put on shelves and then dust later. That's you've just given me work to do. But
Yes.
the other thing you just reminded me of, Caitlin, was there was a period of life, and I'm still sort of in this period. I'm just like practical. So there was a year for my sister's birthday, I bought her like $100 worth of organic cotton tampons because I was just like, we're too old. We're too old to just be like wasting money on shit. I'm going to give you something that you're going to fucking use. Here are some tampons. One year I got my dad a squatty potty because I was like, this is practical.
Did he appreciate it?
No, they didn't fucking appreciate it at all. And I just don't care because I'm like, what else am I going to get you?
I'm dying laughing because, in case you forgot, I'm pretty sure it was for my 20th or my 21st birthday. Do you remember you bought me a Diva cup?
I do remember that. Did you ever use it?
A couple times, but I could never get it to suction right. Now,
They're hard, yeah.
Caitlin in my crunchy phase would probably appreciate that a little bit more. So sorry if you're a guy listening to the podcast right now, people. A Diva cup is like, Google it. I don't want to give it away and spoil it. But anyway, so you want to hear what Instagram has to say about this?
Always.
So I asked Instagram what types of gifts they like to receive from their significant other. And people were saying, surprise me with food or small gifts, making me coffee in the morning. So, like, that kind of goes hand in hand with that act of service. Um, Bringing home food or treats. When you cook for me, there's that act of service, but it's also a gift of like tying it up in the little bow that you didn't have to do something and it was a gift. Bringing home food for dinner so that you didn't have to cook. Ding, ding, ding. That's like my favorite gift. Leaving notes to come home to because he leaves after me and I get home before him. So that's a mix of words of affirmation and a gift. Buying me coffee without being asked and buying my favorite snack. So it seems like our listeners are very food oriented and I am right there with them. um so some other things that I wanted to share about receiving gifts is some ideas for people whose love language is receiving gifts or giving gifts. Would you say that since it scored third highest for you, would you, or second highest, I'm sorry, third highest was your husband. Would you say that is it getting gifts from people or do you like to give gifts or both?
I think both. And I think the older I get, the more gifts I have integrated into giving. So, like, for instance, now I will not show up to somebody's house empty handed. Like, if you go to a potluck and they're like, nope, I've got it, or not a potluck, we go to our friend's house, they're cooking dinner. What can I bring? They don't answer me. I'm showing up with a bottle of bourbon or a bottle of wine and a cake or whatever. Like, I will come with something. And what I'm trying to communicate is like, I've got you. I see how much work you've done. There's no way I'm going to come to your house and just let you serve me. Like, we're friends, right? So, like, thank you. Like, that's what I'm trying to communicate. So I think the older I get, mm, I'm doing more giving in a way that I didn't do when I was younger, but I would say that they are equally important.
I'm laughing because that's one of the signs that, receiving gifts or just gifts in general is one of your love languages is that you don't go to somebody's house without gifting something like or being like a good guest or whoever if you're hosting then you would I don't say you expect something in return but like the same kind of thought is like oh, I have everything covered, but here's a bottle of wine. It doesn't have to be drank tonight, but like for, later for hosting and having this event.
There's very much like a gift for the host. I very much identify with that, and not that if you come to my house because you come to my house and I'm going to cook for you, I'm going to tell you don't you dare bring anything. And if you come give me a bottle of wine, I'm going to receive it with open arms. So I think there is that it's very much a nice gesture of thank you so much.
I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
will not. We went to Nick's boss's house for a Christmas thing, and showed up with a bottle of wine and bought this foo-foo ass cake from Whole Foods. It was so beautiful, but it was not good. And that made me sad. So then that was a good example of like, fucking missed the mark. I brought this gorgeous cake that was dry. So
Boo.
that hurt me.
Yeah. Well, I have some other ideas.
Okay.
And since it's third on your husband's list and it's second on yours, so hopefully men and women alike can take some notes. One of the good things, and you kind of already mentioned it, is making a mental note and really truly being a good listener and paying attention to the things that your significant other, says they like or want, especially if you're out shopping with them or if you're sitting and you're talking and they're like, oh, I really want, you know, the standing mirror. And another good idea is not only you'll get extra points for the gift, but you'll get extra points for paying attention to your significant other. So a good idea for this is keep a note in your phone. Like I have a note in my phone, and I kind of hope my husband doesn't listen to this because he can go look. But I try to keep a note if he says something of what he wants or like coming up or an experience he wants to do or something that he needs that he didn't pull the trigger on, which is very rare for him because if he wants something, he typically will go buy it right then and there because that's just the man I married. Um, Another idea to do with that note is hold on to that note, use it around the holidays or just because, or even better, have your significant other, your spouse, make an Amazon wish list and you can surprise them with things from that because I did that as a teacher And I just like added things, not just, for the school, but for me personally, because people were like, oh, what can we get you? And I just had a running list of things that I wanted to order from Amazon. And when people ask me for a gift, I send them like, this is my wish list. And it's great, especially for your parents or your in laws or people that are maybe don't know what to get you and don't want to just guess. So,
That's
Amazon wish list.
I'm so happy you said that. My sister actually has implemented I want to say a wish list for my niece. So whenever it's her birthday or Christmas, and I'm like, what should I get for Eliana? She's like, here's the link, pick something. And I'm just like, that's great because I don't know
Yep.
what she's into. I only see this kid a couple times a year, right? So it's like,
Yep.
it's really helpful.
It's even helpful too when you have, like, obviously, think about a wedding and a registry and all this. And I'm laughing too because I bought Eliana a gift from her birthday wish list this year. Scissors, a scissor cutting book to help her practice her
And wasn't it great to be
skills.
like, I don't know this kid super well, but I know she wants this scissor cut thing and you could
Yeah,
provide it. How great.
exactly. But the other thing too with all of this is that um having a wish list in general is great for, especially if someone moves into a new home, like a housewarming party, something like that. I'm thinking about this because my sister's about to move into a house, and I told her, I was like, can you please make an Amazon wish list of like things you want or need? Because people are going to ask me, like, what does she need? What does she want? Like, you know, all the above. Um, a couple more ideas for trying to love somebody with receiving gifts or giving gifts is subscribe them to their favorite magazine or something that represents something they love. So if they love cooking, get a cooking magazine that has new recipes in it or, gadgets or this. I feel like magazines are kind of dying a little bit, but maybe you like to sit and read and chill and learn something new. Um
Or an Audible subscription for a year, right? Like there are other ways to do it that like are super great.
exactly. Order dinner one night so your wife doesn't have to worry about cooking and cleaning. Perfect. Grab your favorite snack or candy on the way home from work. Mike just said this to me tonight and he's like, do you need anything from Publix? I said, no, I just need you to come home so I can record my podcast with Nichole. And he showed up with flowers, which was really sweet just because, like, you know, it's been a
I that
crazy week.
I love that he did that for you. I'm such an asshole. Like half the time Nick and I walk into the grocery store, I make a show of showing him where the floral department is in hopes that he'll bring flowers home someday.
Yeah, it's come a long way. And God bless him. I am particular about, like, don't get me wrong, flowers in general are very nice, but I think I like a little more like greenery type flowers, not like the bright, colorful flowers. And my husband tends to get me the bright, like really bright colored ones. And um, yeah,
Let me tell you why I like flowers though, for people that are like, bitch, you're basic. I am. But here's why actually I would love flowers. Because I really love to have something like that in the house. It's like festive and pretty. But I won't buy it for myself because when I go to the grocery store, I'm like, I don't need to spend $15 on flowers. So it's like I think gifts too, thinking about what is something that Caitlin or Nichole will really like. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but that they will not spend $10 on, because there are things I will not spend $10 on.
girl, I get that $5 Publix little hydrangeas. Like, and they last forever and they look pretty in my living room. So when I go, I just get a little bit and it goes a long way. But I
Mm.
feel you. I don't like to, I found that I don't like to spend money on myself, and I typically don't a lot of times. And I realize most of the things that I've ordered in the past year has been for the baby or prepping for the baby or something I needed to fit into while I was pregnant. Like it's nothing really for me. So, um, a couple other ideas is bringing somebody or ordering them DoorDash. Hello, nowadays easy to do, coffee or lunch at work unexpectedly. So maybe you packed a lunch, but if I was teaching and Mike sent me freaking DoorDash, whew, count me in. I Especially because most of the time when I was teaching, I was eating a salad at recess. Send me something good. Um You know what, I know you're laughing because it hits you too. You're like, that good.
Mm-hmm.
So, other ideas could be buying tickets to their favorite performer or like a concert coming into town, or say you're going on vacation or a work trip without them and you make sure to bring them a little souvenir from wherever you are. And um Mike did that actually once when he visited Colorado. He brought me a shirt from there and a coffee mug back in the day. This was before he ever met you. So,
And I was like,
um,
why didn't he tell me he was in town? But there you
it's
have
because
it.
we were dating for like 5 minutes. So, um, another thing could be gifting them an experience like a hot air balloon ride or a boat tour
Oh,
or a cooking or a dance class. Like, give them an experience gift.
that's the creme de la creme of gift giving for me. You
Me
gift
too.
me an experience, forget
Same.
it.
Same. Or a vacation. Count me in.
Agreed.
Um, but then there's also like small sentimental gifts, like on important dates, like your anniversary of your dating anniversary. And my husband probably doesn't even remember when ours is because he like blocks that stuff out. Um, he said the one that matters is our marriage, and I agree.
It's not
I,
wrong. Yeah.
but I still remember all of our other anniversaries just because that's just the type of person I am. It's about your priorities and what you focus on. So,
That's a very Caitlin thing. I will validate that.
okay, that's fine.
Nick and I actually don't even know when we first started dating. We just like rough estimate it.
Did he ever ask you specifically to be his girlfriend though?
Don't know.
Pro- Knowing you, probably not. So you
Unclear.
just you just had a conversation about becoming engaged. Do you have an engagement date? Because you probably don't have that either.
Negative, yeah.
See?
So the only firm date we actually have is our wedding date.
Oh Lord. So I will not be
Anyway,
getting you a personalized gift with important dates in your life. That's for sure.
that would be
Um,
so nice. So imagine just like a really gorgeous timeline of your own life somebody else gives you. That'd be really nice.
So that's what I was going to say too, is like personalized gifts. That is really great and very thoughtful. I used to give a lot of wedding gifts that were like personalized with their first date, their engagement, their I love yous, those types of things. Um, Two more things for you is surprise them with an all planned date night, fun day just for the two of you doing something. And another idea is just to buy them something small just because. So for you love coffee. You like the thought and effort and energy into the stocking of the mirror, like those types of things. Obviously, that was a larger gift. Maybe a gift for you is walking the dogs. Like that might be a gift for you because you both don't like to do it all the time. Or feeding the dogs in the morning.
Oh, yes, that would be a gift.
Exactly. So I think the other thing too, and that I want to take note of is that I think gifts a lot of times has to just go into the effort and knowing the person truly. I end of story. Like I it's when you really know somebody, it's very helpful. And again, when in doubt, get a gift card. People love and appreciate it. And another when in doubt, make an Amazon wish list or make a I told Mike I've been trying to turn our home into a little less toxic things. I know you're like eye roll, but I'm trying to make cleaner choices. So I have like a little list of things that I want to purchase in the next year-ish. It doesn't have to be tomorrow, but like I want to work down that list.
Yes. Yeah. So I think to kind of summarize, I think there's lots of buckets in which gift giving falls into. It could be the thing somebody wants, the thing somebody needs, the thing somebody is going to not expect, the thing somebody is going to appreciate that they maybe wouldn't buy for themselves. So I think if you're thinking about like what would be the thing, I think you can ask the questions. What do they need? What do they want? What would surprise them? And that can maybe give you a direction to go down.
And if you're unsure, don't be afraid to ask your significant other. Don't just guess all the time because like Nichole was saying, sometimes it's gifts don't have to be a surprise. Don't get me wrong, do I love a surprise gift? Yeah, I do. But do I like a surprise gift of something that I won't ever use and don't like? No. Like it's it's funny because my husband is very much a once the gift is given to you and you didn't really want it or need it and you don't want to store it, of purging the item. And I have to remind him to donate gifts instead of just throwing things in the trash because again, people spend money and do things, and I just I just the love was received. Thank you for thinking of us, you know. When in doubt, let us go on a date night. Let us go on a vacation. That's my types of gifts. Or bring me food. Done. I overall, I hope that you guys realize that gift giving does not just have to be materialistic, and you don't really have to spend a lot of money. Could be the gift of time, could be a small little gesture, could be cooking and getting your significant other dinner. And we cannot wait to see you next week for the last two love language episodes.